What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifata Melifonum of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. And hey, if you're Kurt Steele and you're out there watching, I am trying to send you the link, but I keep getting messages saying that X is overloaded at the moment. So I will keep trying to get, hey, it just went through. Hey, right. Hey, let's talk about today's show. Today's show, we got a burning topic that's hitting everybody. If you've been a coach, if you've been involved in athletics for any kind of length of time, you understand. Oops, as I got to fix the screen live on air once again, that, hey, pressure gets to everybody. You're going to feel it if you're in the world of athletics. And yes, there is a question going around. In fact, it was inspired by a couple different reporters last night. Are Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell beginning to feel the pressure? I'm going to guess we're all going to see if we can talk about that, see what they're under. Let's understand, they took over a franchise that was perhaps the worst in all of pro sports, the Detroit Lions. We all know it well, remember it. Remember how the Quinn Tricia era went. And now that they've kind of renaissanced the franchise, made it into one of the better ones in the NFL, where do they go from here? Are they going to feel some pressure this offseason in the draft or the remainder of the free agency, whatever you want to say, to try to make some calculated moves to really try to push this team over the top? Let's be honest. If you're not in it to win it, why are you doing it? And we're going to analyze that with you all today. Pressure makes diamonds. I couldn't agree anymore, Detroit D. You've heard me talk about it before. Probably every coach has ever said it. You take a piece of coal, you put pressure on it, you're going to get one of two things. It's either going to turn to dust or turn to a diamond. We'll analyze that. Before we get into that, though, you guys all know the drill. Before we get into the 5 headlines now and everything in between, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that march for 13,600 subs, and we are roughly 91 subs away. So if you can help out with that, I surely would be thankful. And yes, I need a Mountain Dew this morning. I'm feeling it a little bit today. Also, if you have half a second of time, reach on down, hit a thumbs up, hit the like button, hit all the buttons while you're doing it. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or like. So if you can help out, please be willing to do so. Last but never least, if you are considering looking for something to read, perhaps either this week or in the upcoming future, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're just thinking about long-term, hey, I need to expand my horizons, read some different stuff, go to Amazon.com or wherever you find great reading literature and order yourself a copy of Kajora book. It is the first in a 9-part series. Kajora deals with Native American and Japanese cultures, roughly 1,000 years before Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. So if you like mythological individuals, they have to deal with Native American, Japanese cultures, ninjas, etc., Native American warriors, whatever, but centered around historical, actually accurate events, then go ahead and check it out. If you like it, leave a kind review. Second book releases later this year. All right, with all that said, done, out of the way, let's get this show a rocking and a rolling and a going. And hey, I want to yell a shout out to my brother Tim. It's his birthday, so happy birthday, big bro. Let's get into the first headline of the day and 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines now. Hey, another shout out I probably need to get before I forget about it. Congratulations to the Western Michigan University hockey team. They won in double overtime last night. I think it was 3-2 to go to their first ever national championship game in any sport that I'm aware of. I used to coach at Western back in the 90s and have been in part of it for a long, long time, one way, shape, or form. And yes, for them to not only make the Frozen Four is a big thing, but now that they're going to be in Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the national championship. Hey, talk about a Cinderella story. The small school has gone all the way up to the top. So congratulations to them. And if you got nothing else going on Saturday, and if you like hockey, I guess, maybe you just want to cheer on an underdog, go cheer for Western Michigan University Saturday night at 7:30. All right, Detroit Lions NFL mock draft roundup. Experts focus on pass rushing help. Christian Romo of the Detroit Free Press. So we get it. We are just weeks away from it. You got everybody saying we're going to draft this guy, draft that guy, draft whoever it is. Let's go through what the experts across the national landscape are saying. USA Today is the first one up, and they've got the Detroit Lions in the first round taking defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon. I think just about everyone in the Duke crew, if this went down, they probably would not be upset about it. You probably all know him to death at this point. For those who don't know, though, let's just be honest. He's a Detroit-born defensive tackle, began his career at Michigan State before transferring to Oregon in 24. And you know what? He is a prolific edge rusher. He can get after things. He can stuff the run. There's a lot of things he can do. There's not much he can't do. If the Lions were able to get him, and does seem to be wild speculation that he would be available around pick 28. I am going to guess most people watching the show would say that's a thumbs up move. Doesn't mean you couldn't want somebody else or whatever, but if the Lions were able to get him, he would be a very talented and multi-layered person. I wouldn't be surprised on certain situations if they played him at the big end, sort of like they did with Levi Onwuzurike. I want to say like 35% of the time last year, Levi got moved out to the big end opposite Hutch. So could Harmon do something like that and play DTI? I think so. We'll see what shakes out come draft day. ESPN has linebacker Donovan Aquaria from Boston College. You know, you hear him a lot. It seems like more and more in the last 10 days or roughly right around that being mentioned for the Detroit Lions. I wouldn't be sad about it. I think it would be probably indication. I know we've been talking on the morning show more and more about it, that it is seeming likely, like something's coming out of Detroit that seems to suggest Lions could start going with more like of a 3-4 look or a hybrid look. Not every down, but on a lot of downs. You hear more and more of those with inside information saying, you know, a lot of these guys we're going to be talking about in this draft selection are a little bit undersized based on past Lions standards. Could it happen? You know what? It is possible. But Mel Kiper talked this guy up to coming to the Detroit Lions a lot. He had 65 pressures that led the FBS last season. He turned them into 16.5 sacks. Kiper likes him, thinks he is a Detroit type player. I'll let you guys debate all that. If the Lions could go get him and then potentially re-sign Zadarius Smith along with the other moves they made, and I know Pierce is going to say cut Davenport, but you guys get it. They've got some more depth than they've had last year. Could they do it? We'll see. All right, the Ringers has edge James Pierce Jr. I know some of you hate him. I know some of you like him. I don't care. Go with whatever happens, but he is one of the most athletic guys in the draft. Could he come in into Detroit? Again, if they did draft him, I sort of like with Aquaria, I think it is an indication that they're probably changing their defensive schemes, at least somewhat, because he is a little bit undersized too, based on past Detroit Lions edges, linebackers, etc., rush ends, whatever you want to term it as. So, guy's athletic. Yes, there are some potential red flags with him. It really comes down to who you believe in this conversation. Some people say he is the prototypical Detroit Lions. Some people says he is Diablo. He is the devil. So, I'll let you come to your own conclusions on it. Todd McShay, most recently in his podcast with The Ringer. For those who don't know, he used to work for ESPN, now kind of hosts his own thing with The Ringer. Goes through a mock draft, and in it, he details the Lions getting Pierce, the 28th overall pick, a 3-year player with Tennessee. Pierce led the SEC with 10 sacks in 23 and added another 7.5 sacks in 24. Those numbers are low, but if you also check out his snap count, as McShay writes, it went down last year as they tried to keep everybody fresher. At least that's his opinion. Quote from McShay, the Lions need an edge rusher. We saw what happened to them last year. James Pierce would be a steal here. We'll see if that shakes out. Again, we'll wait and see. Now, NFL Network talking about the last two guys being undersized based on normalities the last few years with the Detroit Lions. They continue that trend with the Lions selecting Mike Green from Marshall. I know a lot of you guys would be jumping up and down. This guy is, I guess you could say, he's the hottest thing in the NFL draft right now. From where the start of the process was a couple months ago to where we are now, he's just probably a big unknown. We talked about Western Michigan's hockey team kind of being the Cinderella story. You could argue Mike Green is a Cinderella story. He's coming from Marshall, which used to be a part of the MAC where Western plays, by the way. He put up big numbers. He's got moves. He's got spin. He's got power. He's got dip and rip. He's got a lot of different things. Green led the FBC defenders with 17 sacks and finished second with 22 and a half tackles for loss. He is 6'3". He was a second-team All-American in the Sun Belt Conference while he was the Defensive Player of the Year. Could that happen? I don't think any of us would be sad if it happened, but again, probably indicate the overall base formation for Detroit is going to change. All right, the Athletic has offensive tackle Kevin Banks Jr. from Texas. Big dude with a lot of power and a lot of flexibility. So if this went down, I think we would all say, man, is Taylor Decker going to be out of here sooner versus later? Or are they going to move somebody, whether it's this guy or Decker or somebody else, to guard? I think all things would be on the table, but it would be a strong indication. Hey, we all get it. When this offensive line is one of the best in the league, it helps the running game, helps the passing game. The offense is great. Why not keep a strength strong? Decker is probably the old guy in the group. Are you going to have to replace him sooner versus later? I'd say, yeah. Decker, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. I don't know. Probably has 1 or 2 seasons left in Detroit before he's moving on out to maybe become a coach with the Lions or something else. So we'll see what shakes out with that. But we spent a little bit of time on this headline, so let's move on to the next one. All right, why the Lions could take more than one edge rusher in the NFL draft. Colton Pouncey of The Athletic with this one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I think at the end of the day, if you look at normalities with any coach, any GM, any organization, you get it. The Lions do double down quite often. You think about last year with cornerback and offensive line. I think with what we're all anticipating, Detroit really needs that edge. And I want to be fair. I like Aiden Hutchinson. I think we all like Aiden Hutchinson. I like Alaquin Muhammad. I like Josh Pascal. I like a lot of the guys we have. Davenport, hey, when he's healthy, he's not bad. He's just got to stay healthy. Say it with me. But if you could add 2 guys that could come in and really firm up that rotation, this Detroit Lions defense probably is going to go to another level. So we'll see what shakes out. But I do think if I was a betting individual, which I'm not, I would say the Lions probably are going to add 2 edge rushers during the draft. All right, next to the 5 headlines now, burning question. What contract could Lions offer? Defensive end Zadarius Smith, SI.com by John Macaron. So we get it. Zadarius Smith still hasn't signed with anybody else, at least not that I knew of it as of this morning. And there does seem to be growing speculations that Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions, have had conversations with Smith about returning. It comes down to one thing, the price tag. Smith, we get it. He's, 32 or whatever. He's probably on this last contract in the NFL. He wants to get what he can before checking out of the league and maybe becoming a coach or doing whatever else he's going to do. So I think at the end of the day, if there's no other buyers for Zadarius Smith, he's probably coming back and it'll probably be a good deal for Detroit. My guess is if that contract he had would have been closer to $6 to $7 million instead of $12 million, that he would have been cut. But you know what? He was cut because that is a wee bit of cash for somebody that you don't feel like might not even be a starter for you. So wait and see what shakes out there. All right, trying to power through these because I know the first headline took a little longer. Lions make bombshell deal with Eagles in all-trade SI mock draft. Story by Detroit Lions on SI by John Macaron with this one. And yes, there is some speculations more and more. And again, it's mock draft mania right now leading into the draft. Everybody's got trades. Everybody's got numbers, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Eagles in this scenario would get the 28th pick. Lions would get number 32 and number 134 plus 161. My thought is if this went down, Eagles clearly want probably somebody to come in. I think if I'm not mistaken in this one, the Eagles went out and get Alabama offensive lineman Booker, who would come on in at 321 pounds, 6'5", help out their offensive line. My thought is if Detroit did this, they're probably still getting about the same player they want 4 spots later based on the teams between the 28th and the 32nd pick. With these other picks, I would anticipate Detroit would be active on a second trade, moving probably up in the second round or a different round to acquire a player of interest. I wouldn't be mad if it happened. I would try to make a second trade, though, as I just said, to move up and get a more targeted individual. All right, last of the 5 glorious headlines now. Lions 2025 schedule, potential release date discussed, AP Wire DT with this one. So anyways, NFL Vice President broadcasting, Mike North recently had a conversation with The Athletic, talked about 3 dates in which they're going to more than likely reveal next year's schedule. He points out somewhere, this is a quote here, quote, somewhere in the May 13th, 14th, or 15th range. is probably still our target, North said on the subject. It's always game day in Buffalo podcast. Dolphins on SI. Went on to talk to a couple other reporters who were there, and talked about the Detroit having the second hardest schedule in the NFL. Some things they had to shift around due to different arenas or whatever you want to say, scheduled times. So he didn't go into specifics. Obviously, he can't because he hasn't revealed the schedule yet, but did say they ran into some challenges a little bit this year with a couple different teams and schedules working out with non-divisional games, but yada, yada. I can imagine that's par for the course. It's always going to happen. Somebody's going to have something you're going to have to work around. Detroit is going to be one of the more featured. This is one thing he did say. Detroit is going to be one of the more featured teams on national broadcasts out there because there is a market for Detroit. Did talk about also how Detroit, their viewership has in recent years extended far beyond Michigan. He did note that the Detroit Lions have become more or less one of the more sought after games or teams to watch on national networks when a team or fans whose team aren't playing at that time, they want to watch the Detroit Lions. I guess that's what I'm trying to say in a tongue-tied, twisted type moment. All right, with all that done, let's go ahead and get over to the main topic of the day. All right, again, I want to give a shout out to my brother Tim for his birthday today, so hopefully he's watching, kicking back, and having a good one. But let's talk about it now. Detroit Lions, hey, these aren't the Detroit Lions of the 80s, and you could say even most of the 2000s. These Detroit Lions are relevant. We were just talking about in the main topic, or excuse me, the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions and the NFL are aware they are a product. They are in demand. People want to watch them. If I'm a Kansas City Chief fan and my team isn't playing, who am I watching? I'm watching the Lions. If I'm a Miami Dolphins fan and my team isn't playing, who am I more likely watching? I'm watching the Detroit Lions. Let that sink in across the nation. You could even argue across the planet. People want to watch, say it with me, the Detroit Lions. And because of that, you're not, you know it, I know it. The NFL clearly knows it as they want to market it. But who else knows it? Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, the coaching staff, the front office, the players for the Detroit Lions. We also know that last year, 15-2 was phenomenal. If you went into last season saying the Lions were going to win 15 games, you know what? You won money in Vegas because probably most of us would said, somewhere between 11 and in 13 games. That's a real good season for any NFL team. It's hard to win in this league on a week-to-week basis. I'd argue it's hard to win in any league on a week-to-week basis. And I'm not talking just, this sport, that sport, the other sport. It's all sports. Winning is difficult. And while some teams make it look easy, understand they make it look easy because they're just that good at things. Detroit Lions are now arguably one of the better teams and organizations in the NFL. But with all that comes expectations. 2 years ago, let's skip it. Let's go 3 years ago. When we started 1-6, there was no expectations for this franchise. Remember, people were talking about, man, we need to fire Campbell, fire Glenn, fire Holmes, fire everybody. Fire the guy who fired them. Fire everybody. But Sheila Hampford came out and said, hey, well, you know what? We fully believe in this team, yada, yada, yada. Lions, just days after that statement from Sheila Ford Hamp, came out and beat the Green Bay Packers. Remember, Aiden Hutchinson had like 3 interceptions on Aaron Rodgers or whatever it was, went out there and pulled an upset. From there, it just changed. Lions went all the way, nearly made the playoffs that year. But you know what? If they didn't make the playoffs, they had the next best thing. Their final game of the year was a win in Green Bay, prime time. Remember, the national media at that point had really turned the Detroit Lions into a darling team. Everybody got the Lions got flexed into the night game, sent Aaron Rodgers into retirement from Green Bay on a loss. And from there, the myth, the legend, the run that we are currently in began. The following year, we make it to the playoffs, win the NFC North for the first time since 1492 or whatever. And you know what? Hey, we get into the playoffs and we nearly make the Super Bowl. We all know the story. Last year, though, while we overcame every injury you could ever have, they went out there and they won 15 games, but we lost in the playoffs in the first game we had, second round of the playoffs. And yes, you start to see some of the signs of pressure. You hear the players talk about it. They were aware all the expectations to get the Super Bowl. Now in the third year of those real expectations, what do the Detroit Lions do to really get beyond that hurdle, get over that speed bump, get to the Super Bowl? 2 years from now, if this team doesn't get to a Super Bowl, there will be a lot of us that think this was a missed opportunity. Next season, if we don't make a further push in the playoffs, maybe even to the Super Bowl, there will be some people that start raising eyebrows. That's part of sports. It's part of life. It's a part of expectations. And Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they're 100% aware of it, just like the players. You probably seen the recent commercial with, I'm a Ross St. Brown and Kevin Hart, kind of makes jokes about the Lions losing to the Commanders, asking what happens, etc. Now imagine being a player, a front office person, or a coach on a daily basis. Everywhere you go, you know people are asking you, what happened? Why didn't you do it? What do you got to do to get there? My question to you, Duke Crew, today is, what do the Detroit Lions have to do to get to the Super Bowl this upcoming season? We know they're going to have the second hardest schedule in the league. We know they got a heck of a gauntlet on the road this year. We know they have, at least in, it sounds like most of our opinions, one of the best teams in the NFL. When you look at, there's just really zero holes. You got a quarterback, you got running backs, you got wide receivers, you got tight ends, you got an offensive line, you got defensive line. Defensive line, yes, I get it. We want more edge rushers. Linebackers are there. Cornerbacks are young and appearing to be developing. And yes, you potentially have the best safety combo in the NFL. Special teams, probably without reproach. You got two of the best special teamers out there. So, hey, Jack Fox and Jake Bates, good for them, man. Glad they're here. What do you say, Duke Crew? Is this team under pressure to perform, make the playoffs, and obviously get to the Super Bowl? What are you doing to help them get there? And if they don't do it this year, how much more pressure is on everybody we just listed above? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As far as I know, Kurt Steele is going to be here in about 8 minutes, so let me power through as many of these comments as I can. And let me scroll to the top of the screen. And I'm still scrolling. And I'm still going. All right, here we go. JDC, morning all. Back at you. Silver Surfer, good morning, coach and everyone. Back at you, my friend. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Diamond time, exclamation point. Woo, I'll take that. Silver Surfer, don't tell me I've beat JDC in the opening comment. I cannot believe it. From now on, I can say I achieved something in life. Hey, start with one thing, move on to the second. Get greedy, my friend. Mike the Marine, howdy, Dan and Duke Crew. Happy Friday. Woo! And happy Friday to you too. JDC, tongues out. JDC, go Lions, go Tigers. Yes, go all of them. All the Detroit teams are doing well. Go everybody. Hey, I like it. Go everybody. Drake, morning, Duke Crew. My answer to the question would be yes. They have been here for a while now. At some point, we have to ask what the expectation is. Question mark. Winning some games or winning the Super Bowl? It's a good point. Yep. At some point, your expectations raise as your performance raises. So I get it. Five fingers ready. Coach, give a shout out to Western Michigan University's hockey team. You know what? I tell you what, we'll give Western's hockey team a 1, 2, and a 3. There you go, Broncos. Silver Surfer, no, coach, I don't think there is any pressure on them. The city and their organization are going to say, quote, keep up the good work. Keep the team on the top half and not the bottom half. I'll take that. That's it. Fair enough. David, go Bears and Ben Johnson. All right. Quentin, great salutations. These dudes better not miss on picks this year. We got a chance to win it. All need them to be all on winning. Yes, I think they will be all focused on winning. Man Bear, good morning. Back at you. Hardy, let's see. No one is putting more pressure on Brad or Dan than they already have put on themselves. To take a terrible organization and front office to a talented team and smart contacts is outstanding. Yeah, they've done a great job, in my opinion. But now, I mean, hey, which is harder? And I think there's no right or wrong answer here. Which is harder? Taking a bad franchise and making him relevant, or taking a relevant franchise and make him champs? That would be, a burning question to dive into at some point. Steve, good morning, coach, and good morning to the Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Brad and Dan are under pressure, but that is how diamonds are made. You are correct with that, my friend. Good morning, Steve. Sosimo, well said, Steve. Pressure makes you stronger or breaks you. Brad appears to thrive off pressure. Yeah, it could be true. Some people love it. Some people, just devour pressure. They get it. They want it. They're all over it. Alrighty, the Bears won the preseason for the third season in a row. Question mark, exclamation point. Now try for 500. Hey, you got to, one step at a time, right? Hopefully we keep them down below 500. Silver, I mean that we are very happy where the team is, the way is run, the way they built the team foundation. They stick with their own. They draft very well. They play hard. Only no luck yet. We are the Lions. Yep, and hey, maybe we're getting a little bit more lucky. All right, Steve, can I get a woo for the crew that bleeds Hallelujah Blue? You know what? Why not? 1, 2, and a 3. Your morning woos. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Group. Back at you, JDC. Woo! Man Bear, Brad is on the quote hot seat. MCDC is safe as well. I'd say very little pressure. Yeah, I don't think Sheila's putting any pressure on him. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe it's self-induced pressure. Brent, good morning. Dan and crew. Lions ruled. The Bears drew. Oh, yeah. I'll take that. Steel, sharp on steel, says Hardy. I would concur. So, any guests today? Just curious. As far as I know, well, it is Friday, so we'll see. Kurt Steele hops on, although I haven't heard from him this morning, unless I missed it in the comment section, which I'm powering now through. Henry Moore, what a team. What a podcast. Thank you for that. What a time be a Lions fan. Woo! Pierce, I wouldn't say any more than last year pressure-wise. Okay. See, Pierce, also good morning, dudes and dudettes. Coach, the daily reminder to clip the skipper woo. Yeah, I got to get on that. All righty. Well, we answered that question. Next topic. Fair enough. Pat, I believe we can firmly address and hit on an edge spot in the draft. This year's team could be the NFL's best. Yeah, I think the talent's there across the board to be potentially the best team in the NFL. Will it shake out that way? Wait and see how the results perform. All right, Miles Margaret, greetings, salutations, Coach, Duke Crew. Power's back. Congrats for that, my friend. After a dozen days, no internet, the cell poor, but I'm listening today. Lions fan, got grit. Hey, welcome back, my friend. I know you and a whole lot of people up north got hit hard the last couple weeks with the ice storm. Bears, now the question I will ask until something non-Damport happens. Edge yet? Hopefully in about 2 weeks you get some edge-rific answers. The Trim Reaper, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Woo! Back at you. Detroit D, greetings and salutations to the Duke Crew. It's my birthday. I'm 53 years old. Go Lions. Hey, you and my brother Tim got a great birthday, my friend, so enjoy it. Enjoy it indeed. Brent, howdy, Miles Mark. Glad to see you. Exclamation point. Been worried about you, buddy. Yeah, glad you're safe, man. Glad you are safe. You know what? Hey, I should think about this. For you and my brother Tim, I'll give you a 1, 2, and a 3. Enjoy the birthday. Pierce, and am I the only one who hopes Davenport somehow doesn't make the 53-man roster? You look at his contract, and really, if they decide to move on him, it's not going to really impact the team at all. I mean, that contract is basically all performance. So if you show up and you can play, you get paid. If you can't, you don't. You're out of here. Hookadoo. It's about time, Osmar. We were asking about you. Glad you're safe. Go Lions. 100% there. Dave, shout out to Coach for getting up every day of the week and putting on a show for us. Woo! Hey, I enjoy it. Hopefully you guys do too. JDC, happy birthday, old man. There you go. Phil, good morning. Back at you, Philly. The Trim Reaper, good job, Silver Surfer. I concur. Brent, Detroit D, happy birthday. Voltron Force, happy birthday. Again. Miles Meyer, hiya. Brent, thank you for your friendship. Devastated here, but I got a solid roof, more than a neighbor can say. Man, I just from knowing people in the UP in northern Michigan, yeah, I know it's been a train wreck up there. Hopefully everybody's recovering, but that was a massive storm. And then on Lavers, good morning, Dan, and the quote, Kings of the North, Duke Crew. You're not wrong, man. You know what? We are Kings of the North 2 years in a row. Frank, what up, Doe? East Side, woo! Go Lions, and back at you, Frank. Skip Green Bay, Minnesota, the Bears, Philly, go Lions, skip them all, I say. See, Pierce, Milesburg, glad you were safe, man. Exclamation point. We were all worried. We were, man. We were indeed. JDC, Miles Barr, nothing like living off the grid. Michiganders have grit. Yes, we do, my friend. Yes, we do. Silver, C, question mark. I thought it was impossible. At the beginning of the show, my first comment, now reload JDC is first. I'll still have to wait for my moment of glory. Hey, one day at a time. Trim Reaper, happy birthday, Detroit D. Woo! Oh, yeah. Robert, greetings and salutations. Same to you. Hookadoo, morning, Brett DeWitt, and a happy birthday, Detroit D. There you go. Manuel, laughing out loud. Next 2 Super Bowls are on the West Coast. Sorry, guys. Going to have to wait in line. Hey, no worries about that. Who would be on the West Coast that would get it? I'm trying to think who would be out there. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Trim Reaper, laughing. Let's see. Trey, what's good, Duke Crew? Question mark. First, we can handle the pressure. Second, happy birthday, Detroit D. 100%. Happy birthday to him and my bro, Tim. All right, Frank, think all the cool people have birthdays this month. Ari's for life. Go Lions. Brett DeWitt, good morning. Hookadoo. Miles Marger, laughing out loud. JDC, thank you. Pierce, thank you. Everyone, happy birthday, D. All right, guys, it is about that time to bring forth a rhythm and a rhyme and bring on our special guest of the day. You know him. You love him. He's the host of the most. He is the host of the Boss Up, Ball Out podcast. Let's go over and find ourselves a Kurt the Hitman Steele. Hitman, how you doing this morning?
What up, though? What's going on, my man? Doing great. Getting ready for my show at 8 o'clock. Got a special guest this morning, so make sure you guys check it out.
Today's topic. Do you think the Detroit Lions, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, whoever you want to mention, think they're feeling any kind of real pressure this year to, make a deeper playoff run, get to the Super Bowl?
I think Dan Campbell I think it's self-pressure. I don't think it's more of a external pressure. I think that they have fallen short, the last couple of years, and they want to make sure that they reach that goal. I mean, understanding the circumstances, especially last year where so many injuries, and it didn't set them back in the regular season, but it set them back in the playoffs. So I think there's some pressure for Dan Campbell on himself to get them to where they want to be, and that's a Super Bowl.
You look at last year's team, I think we all know it by this point. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball, but yes, injuries impacted them. Maybe there were other dynamics in play, who knows? But when you look at the landscape of the Detroit Lions going into the draft, going into next season, with the draft remaining, I'm assuming we're not going to make any more free agent moves. What do you think they really need to do and target to find in this draft in order to try to make the next step in the playoffs for the Super Bowl?
I think shoring up the interior offensive line, making sure that depth's right at the guard position, of course, and then someone who to back up Frank Ragnow, and then the defensive side, of course, man, to get in that playmaker across from Aiden Hutchinson. I think they want a player like Stewart out of Texas A&M, who's kind of built in the same frame out of a guy we have on the roster already, which is Marcus Davenport, big defensive end that can push the pocket back. That's one of the things that helped the Lions early, and Aiden Hutchinson, especially look at that Tampa Bay game where Marcus Davenport was pushing the pocket. He's a good bull rusher. They want somebody who can push the other side of the line in so Aiden Hutchinson can eat. So he's pushing. They want a guy who can push guys, offensive linemen into the backfield and make it easier for Hutch to eat.
It seems like in a lot of mock drafts, and we were talking about during the 5 headlines now, have kind of thrown the pseudo linebacker edge out there. The Pierce Jr., the Green, a gajillion other people listed. If the Lions went that way, I know we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but is that an indication they're changing their base defense, in your opinion?
If they do that, they're going to a 3-4. And I don't see that because Aiden Hutchinson is not a 3-4 defensive end. He's a 4-3 defensive end. He's not a 3-4 outside linebacker. It's just no ifs, no ands. He's not even a 3-4 defensive tackle where you're going to push him inside. It's just not that. You look at this defense, the way it's structured, you look at a DJ Reader and a Lee McNeil and a Josh Pascal. They have the guys that can play inside and outside, but those guys are meant to play, or the scheme they're playing is a 4-3, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like I said before, I think that the changes are going to be more on the coverage side of the ball, where they want to play a mixture of zone and man, and not just purely a man type coverage. So that's why you can get a guy like DJ Reed, who's kind of well versed in playing both zone and man. And then you can bring in the guys like Rake Straw this season and make him have a better year and pretty much make them guys very versatile in the back end of the defense. But to say that the Lions are going to switch to a 3-4 and I'm really tired of all these mock drafts mocking 3-4 Sam linebackers to the Detroit Lions.
Right.
It really pissing me off because of the fact that they just signed a Sam outside linebacker who has pass rushing skills and Derek Barnes. So why are you mocking a guy that's 240 pounds? What's the guy out of Boston College, right? The guy's in between Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell, our middle linebacker, is bigger than the guy you want to play edge. It makes no sense to me. Just like, okay, we brought in Josiah Stewart to a top 30 visit. What does that mean for me? That means they're looking at a guy to back up Derek Barnes because that's the type of role he plays. he'll if we pick him in the draft or or even as an undrafted free agent, he's going to be a guy who's a backup to Derek Barnes. He's not coming in to play across from Aiden Hudson. Just no way. Like, guys, come on, man, knock this crap off, man. If you it tells me that they don't know Brad Holmes and they don't follow the Detroit Lions. They don't look at the type of players that they've drafted. It just makes no sense to me.
If you had to say this was, I mean, it's mock draft mania this time of year, etc. But let me ask you this: if you had to say there was one or two or whatever mock draft national guys that you think actually do their homework, look at each team's GM, these are the tendencies. Who would you say is probably the best ones for anybody watching to go pay attention to?
We look at Jeremy Fowler over there at ESPN. I like him. I'm not a big fan of Kuiper. I don't think the Lions have ever picked a guy that he's actually selected for them in a mock draft. I don't remember that at all. And of course, my man Peter Schrager, he actually just left NFL Network to go over to ESPN, and he only does like one a year, and he's usually pretty accurate on the type of players. Not saying the names, but the type of players that are pretty set for the guys or going to the teams that he's picks them for. But like for me, man, like sometimes Kyber can be on at the top of the draft, but like when you get, I don't know what he chooses for the line. I don't know how I don't know if he's throwing darts at a dartboard just with a blindfold or something for the Detroit Lions, but I'm like, I don't think that the Lions have ever selected a player that he's ever chosen for them. And it just makes no sense. And you're kind of my age, and one of my favorite moments in the draft is the Colts GM sitting next to him and saying, "Who the hell is this Mel Kiper guy anyway?" And he's sitting right next to Mel Kiper, like he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know who he is. That way that he's sitting next to him and asking who this guy is. So I mean, like, I'm not saying he's not good at what he does at the top of the draft, but like when he gets down to that bottom, man, I'm like, he gets out of that first 15 picks. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
He's filling in airtime on TV. That's about it, I think.
Yeah.
Him and the hair. All right. So we've talked a lot about draft picks here, draft picks there. Lions could go defensive line, offensive line, etc. If you look at some of the guys they've drafted in recent years who haven't yet stepped up, who do you think are some guys that could really make a jump this year and help with the team coming forward?
Wow, that's a good question. If you look at the Lions, the bulk of the guys who are probably round 3 and up, the majority of those guys have been contributors on the team. Except for you get, of course, Broderick Martin and Giovanni Manu. Most of those guys, you look at those first 3 rounds of the draft, man, those all have guys that have been contributors. I think my guy this year was my comeback player of the year last year, and we just re-signed him. That's Levi Onwuzurike. He definitely can be a big part of the rotation, and he can be a solid part of that defensive line. You look at the beginning of the season where you're not going to have a player like Aleem McNeil. They're not looking at to get him back until late November, early December. So he could be a guy who can step in and fill that role until he gets back into the lineup.
You know, when you look at Levi, just because you brought him up, in my opinion, I thought the last month-ish of the season, he was playing pretty dang good. I wouldn't say like top 10 in the league, but, not far off it. How good do you think another year, a little bit more strength, body adjusting a little bit more, how good do you think he could be this year?
I mean, with Casey Rogers on the defense, being a defensive line coach, I think he can take the next step to being one of those players that could demand more money next offseason after he has that 1-year deal here in Detroit, where I don't even think we were going to get him back just because of the fact of how well he played at the end of last year. People don't realize, like, he was rated higher than Aleem McNeil coming out in the draft. So he was probably the top-rated defensive tackle coming out in the draft, even with his injury history at the University of Washington. So I'm thinking that he can take the next step, especially under the tutelage of Casey Rogers, and is having another year of experience in the league under his belt.
Yeah, I really like him, and I like his personality. I like everything about him. I hope he just knocks it out of the park this year. All right, we talk a lot about Lions drafting defense, edges. We get it. But do you think the Lions could make a move? There are some mocks saying the Lions could draft a wide receiver round 1. I don't know if I'm on board with that. But do you think the Lions target maybe in the middle rounds a wide receiver? And if so, is there anybody that jumps out to you?
Not really. I think that they could target mid to late rounds. I'm thinking more of the early part of day 3 is where they get a wide receiver. Just because of the fact that you look like everyone's under contract. Like all the wide receivers, pretty much all the wide receivers they had last year that made contributions to the lineup are back in Detroit. Tim Patrick's back. Raymond's still under contract. Of course, we know about JMO and St. Brown.
Right.
Most of those players are still with the team, so I'm not looking like they're looking at a playmaker that's going to come in and make that's going to take someone's starting position this year. I just don't see it. Just because of the fact they brought everyone's back. Like, okay, Allen Robinson didn't come back, but did he really make a significant contribution on the Lions' roster last year? No, he didn't. He was a steady guy, caught a few passes here and there, but Tim Patrick catching 3 touchdowns in a game, and he was a solid target for Jared Goff. Of course, Jameson Williams catching 58 passes and having 1,000 yards on 58 receptions is ridiculous. I think his ceiling is going to be so much higher this year under a guy like John Morton, who wants to take more shots down the field. He wants more explosive plays. And you look at Jameson Williams and what he did last year, even missing 2 games and only having 58 receptions and 1,000 yards. I think he can take the next step under John Morton this year.
Recently, the Lions, or I guess the NFL through the Lions, however you want to look at it and term it, made some form of proposal to change the playoff seeding structure, however you want to look at it and term it. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think they need to say, hey, if you won the division, but you're sub 500, you don't get to host a playoff game? Do you think they just keep it where it is? What are your thoughts?
I do like the reseeding as far as if you're outside of the number 1 position in the conference, mm-hmm. right? If you won the conference, you got home field advantage to the conference, you good. You're solid. You're the number one seed. But to have like last year, I don't think Minnesota should have been so far down. Right. Even though I don't like the Vikings at all, but you get it. Like if you're a sub 500 team, or you're right at 500, or you're a 9-8 team, should you host a playoff game? And there's a team that's 12-5 or 13-4 that didn't win their division. I get the fairness of the reseeding of the lower. Now it still makes sense where all the division winners make the playoffs. That's it. But you get the reseeding in the wild card rounds. I do like that, the fact that they would do that and consider that. I don't know if they do that because it takes so much for the NFL to change a rule. Like it's going to take a lot, because there are going to be people that's going to look. You have to look at the money aspect of this, right? So you won the division, right? You're going to be hosting a playoff game. How much revenue that's bringing into your team, to your stadium, and to your city. Right. They're not going to want to give that up easily.
All right, and then the last thing I got for you this morning, we get ready for the draft. We're starting to talk about trades and everything. End of the day, if you had a bank on it, you had to put your morning Mountain Dew online. Do you think the Lions trade up or trade back? And what do you think they should try to get with either scenario?
I believe the Lions are going to trade up. Just for the fact, and I'm going to talk about it on my show this morning, and just for one simple reason, they have 7 picks. 7 guys aren't going to make this roster. Right. 7 guys from the draft are not going to make this roster. You put I've said it before, you bringing back 20 of 22 starters, right? And then they've signed a bunch of depth back to the roster and some external guys that are depth. So who's going to come in and take that spot from that's in this draft class? I don't see it. it's the curse of drafting well. You just don't have enough spots to keep drafting that well, and that with that many draft picks. I don't see them using all 7 draft picks because they're all 7 draft picks wouldn't make the team this year.
All right. Again, as always, I want to thank you for coming on the show. He is the host of the host of the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. He is Kurt the Hitman Steele. Kurt, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out?
All right, man. Y'all know you can find me on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. Going live today at 8 with a special guest, so make sure you tune in. And then you can check me out on Lions Nation United as well, man. But come hang out on the Boss Up Ball Out. Mondays and Wednesdays, you can check me out with my man's LL Cool Torrance and Coach Mike Jones. And then on Fridays, you can check me out. I'm doing a live stream today. I got a special guest, like I said, man. So come hang out with us, man. Young, new, on the scene Lions content creator, man, is a good dude. And we're going to have some fun this morning talking Lions football.
All right, Kurt, as always, thanks for coming on. And we'll all head over here. You start at 8 o'clock, so in about 14 minutes. We'll all jump on over and see who you got on today.
All right, man. Thanks, Duke Crew. We'll see you guys shortly. And thanks for having me on, Coach Dan.
No worries, man. No worries at all. See you, Kurt.
See
all
you.
right, guys, let's get back to you guys in the Duke Crew comment section. Silver Server with increasing salary every year, even very high salary, but 1 year at a time. Levi, that is. Yeah, I like Levi. I hope he just, crushes it this year. Hope the kid gets paid afterwards, which he probably will if he's going to crush it. Man, if he comes in this season and starts it off the way he ended last year, the Lions could be in a real good situation with him, McNeil, DJ Reed, whoever they draft. They could have one heck of a rotation inside. David, getting Hutch back makes the defensive line way better. They still have the draft and more free agency to get more people. They do indeed. Detroit Lions bad guy, Dan and Brad don't feel pressures. Surely not from the fans. They don't care what they say or they feel. No pressure. Yeah, I think if there's pressure, it's probably more internally from themselves than anything externally from media or anything like that. Brett, thanks, Kurt. Salute, 100%. John, 5 mobile quarterbacks on the road. Final record: Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, 7 and 10. All right, we'll see if that holds up. Guys, I'm going to be out of here a little bit early today as I've got to get ready for work. As you guys are probably all aware, in one of my jobs, it's been a very volatile market the last 2 weeks, so I've got a little extra prep time to ensure I do okay. At any rate, again, I want to give a shout out for birthdays to my brother Tim, to Detroit D. Hey, if you got free time tomorrow, you got nothing going on, 7:30 p.m. Western Michigan University playing for the national championship in the Frozen Four for hockey. It's a heck of a thing for that school to be in that spot. So go for them. A couple more here. Hold on real quick. JDC, happy trails. Go Lions victory. Trim Reaper. Thank you, Coach Dan of the Duke Crew. Have a great day. See you in the morning. Woo! Oh, yeah. Don't Call Me Shirley. Yes, I love that movie, man. Airplane. Ed offers Z Smith 10 to 13 million a year and get him signed. Man, if we were going to give him that, we just wouldn't have cut him, I would think. But we'll see. We'll see what shakes out. Before you check out, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit all the buttons. Be a good human being. Do something kind for someone you don't know. Hey, and we'll see you all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Excuse me, sir, would you... Donations to the Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism?
Of Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology?
Or nuclear power?